one of the things I'm just thinking about too is, look, obviously we just talked about a lot of people just laid off, right? And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what age you are. And there's a lot of people that we talk to, and you kind of talked about, hey, I was an English major who ended up into financial aid and
Yeah.
math. We kind of find ourselves, we were the math nerds that then end up into coaching.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like we ended up into the psychology. So
Mm.
we all have to use lots of different things in our jobs, but in these times, we have people come to us and say, hey, I did just get laid off. Right. And we start talking about life purpose and what drives you, and what's one thing that you always wanted to do that you never got to do, or what's one thing that really gives you purpose and accomplishment. Maybe it's when you retire, but maybe it's now that I'm in my 50s and I've been let go of my position, and this is a great time to be introspective. And on top of that, interest rates have continued to come down quite a bit. So if you're thinking about, silver linings and try to make the lemon
Yeah.
argument there, maybe this is a good time to be investing yourself in education. And again, doesn't mean I didn't get that college degree, I should go get it and I should take 4 years to go do that. Maybe it's a
Right.
certificate. Maybe it's I overuse this. Maybe I always want to be a welder or be a carpenter and always
Yeah.
want to do something with my hands. Can I go to a trade school and go learn that thing? And I can see, if you fast forward maybe 12 or 18 months right now, where I don't get my original job or vocation back, and now I start looking at and expanding my options and opportunities, that someone would go do that. So what I want to just zoom you out, Maria, is a little bit of, I'm not 18 and in this situation, I'm going to school right after high school, is I'm in transition in careers, and I'm thinking about education as an opportunity. How would they engage with you, and how would they kind of refocus to figure out, all right, this is the goal. What schools are available to me, and then how do I afford it, whether it be, again, savings or debt?
Yeah, that's great. And that's a lot of what I do as, sort of the adult ed specialist in my field. So I'm working with the adult ed centers in Maine, and it's a lots of those folks that are in transition, right? And re-credentialing out of necessity or desire, right? And so I remember at the Barclay Center in Wilton that went out of business, I want to say last March, they were doing a resource fair as things were winding down. And we were at a table there to sort of talk about, okay, maybe this is the great time to go back to school, right? And I had a number of folks at the table and say, well, I've always wanted to finish that degree, or, I never thought I had the time and now I've got the time. And so I think that's a pretty common thing that we hear. And especially I think we will definitely now post-COVID. We were just talking about that at a staff meeting. Like, I think, there's going to be an uptick in retraining and recertification because there's going to be a need for that. And so same way they can get to us, me directly through the website. Adult ed centers in the state are incredible. They're a great starting point for, if you need to brush up on study skills or math or reading, particularly for English language learners. Adult ed does amazing things for our new Mainer populations in terms of getting them ready to get on to the next level. So, they can get that through that way. Or certainly just directly through us. And so generally that person, as an adult learner would fall in my wheelhouse, and, same kind of conversation. We sit down and we say, here's the, what are you thinking about? What's your goal? Like, what's the dream school? Or did you already start some college and you want to continue what you were doing or transition it to something different? And then we just look at the best program in terms of what they want to do. Do they start at the community college, or maybe they have enough credits that they could go right into one of the University of Maine schools, depending on what they want to do. So it's a similar conversation, except adult students have all these other things going on, right? So they have families and mortgages or rent and juggling all that stuff. And so you kind of have to think about holistically making a little bit more of a firm plan, right? So the financial implications, same thing, they can qualify for financial aid. If they don't have a bachelor's degree and they're eligible for federal Pell Grant, they can get that no matter if they're 18 or 50, right? It's really about their income and what program they're looking to enter. So a similar conversation, scholarships, funding from, personal savings if they've got it, but really managing, like maybe they go part-time instead of full-time because they've got a family and they can't go full-time, those sorts of things. So we do a lot with working with adult students in terms of, getting their financial life in order. The other aspect of what we do at FAME is financial literacy, right? So we talk about budgeting, saving, planning, all of that. So the conversation with those students tends to be a little bit more financially focused in terms of where are you at? Do you have a budget in place? What is that going to look like when you're adding tuition costs and books and all of those pieces? So the conversation is slightly different, but the opportunities are much the same. So depending on what they want to do, we could help them identify the right institution. A lot of them have it in mind already. They're like, okay, I'm going to go here because I did the research. I just need you to help me figure out how I'm going to pay for it. And so we have the same kind of financial aid conversations in terms of scholarships and applying for aid. And they might not have saved anything for themselves for school, which is pretty common. If they have children, they're saving for their kids, but they're not necessarily saving for themselves. So, there's not generally a lot to pull from in that aspect. But there's lots of scholarship opportunities for adults in the state. And we just did a webinar for financial aid offices about sort of best practices for helping adults through the process. And so we're always thinking about this transition. And now more than ever, we're going to need to really think about, I think, what will be an influx of, either people starting for the very first time or picking up where they left off or changing careers entirely.